Hello everybody, this is Laura Susan Johnson with Period Pieces. Nothing can keep this girl down, not even a broken water main. Ingenuity, that's my favorite word. I've got my glass of Moscato, and I'm getting ready to review a classic movie from my mom's childhood called A High Wind in Jamaica. I'm all ready to go with my Jamaican outfit, inspired anyway. I've got my Caribbean blue nail polish, my little dragonfly tattoo, temporary of course, my dangly kinda ocean inspired colors on. Everything's ready to go here. So, and I do like to do things like that. I'm a very colorful person. If I'm going to be on camera, I'm going to be made up. I'm not going to look like an old hag. Without makeup, I have to admit I'm extremely scary looking. I do have cue cards, so please excuse my lack of eye contact with the camera. A High Wind in Jamaica is based on a novel by Richard Hughes, and it stars Anthony Quinn, I have to look at my cue card. I know his name, James Colburn, and a very impressive child actress named, more cue cards, Deborah Baxter. I hate this cue card shit. But what disappoints me about this is that 95% or 90, how about 98% of this story does not even take place in Jamaica. The story begins with a hurricane or a typhoon in Jamaica. I think it's a hurricane since it's in the Caribbean. And it's violent, it's windy. A white family lives with a Jamaican family. The white family, I don't know, I think they're Christian missionaries by the way that they talk. It's in the year 1870. You know, great costume design, great set design. You know, a lot of child actors. They're pretty decent. The standout, of course, is Deborah Baxter. Did I get her name right? She plays the little girl Emily. Her father is played by Nigel Davenport, and if I'm not mistaken, Nigel Davenport plays one of the Efrafin rabbits in my childhood favorite Watership Down, if I'm not mistaken. Might be another Nigel. There's a lot of Nigels out there. Right, Nigel? Anyway. Looks like there's culture clash, especially with the English mother. Immediately after this hurricane basically knocks their house over and kills one of the Jamaican older people, the mother notices the white kids dancing around and not making a big deal of grieving and crying. And the white mother thinks they're becoming uncivilized, so to speak. So she tells the father, we're sending our children back to England. They need to get back to their own culture and their own ways of thinking, and they're becoming just uncivilized around these, she wants to say, savages. That's just the way white people thought in those days. You can't get around it. That's just the way it was. It broke my heart during this storm at the beginning of the movie. The little girl chasing her cat. You never did know if the cat survived. I'm a big cat person, and it kind of made me a little bit teary-eyed, but I got over that quite quickly. I don't know why the parents were not allowed on the ship with the children. This wasn't the bad guys that came along later in the movie. These were just regular regular ship personnel. They said, we're running out of time. We gotta, leave port now. And the parents were just standing there at the dock, like, okay, the children were allowed on, but we're not. I don't understand that part. So it seems a little contrived to me. Just saying. The only time you spend in Jamaica is the first maybe 10 to 15 minutes of the film. And I was looking forward to a movie set in Jamaica. If the title says A High Wind in Jamaica, why not have why not just, why wasn't the title changed? Why didn't the author consider maybe a high wind at sea, or a high wind in the Caribbean, or a high wind, or children in the high wind, or something like that? Most of the movie, sorry to say, takes place aboard a claustrophobic boat. And not very, when you're expecting something and you get something completely different, it's a little bit disappointing. Sorry, but it is. So, some pirates come aboard not too long after the kids get aboard the ship that's supposed to take them back to England. I believe they're going back to Bristol, England. No, maybe not. I don't know. While the pirates are attacking the ship, these silly kids sneak aboard the pirate ship. Why? Because kids are kids. They're silly. The pirates take the captain, and incredibly, these pirates do not brutalize the captain very badly, aside from lighting his shoes on fire and threatening him. They do beat him a little bit. They smack him up, They slap him around a little bit, but that's it. And they don't do anything to the children. I don't care what year this is. Pirates were organized criminals, and they're still organized criminals out there. Pirates are pirates. They're not cuddly teddy bears. And this is... My mom, I love her to death, but she's an escapist. And I'm not. So when I see movies depicting people in a way that I know fucking better is not the way that they are, I think fucking bullshit. Real pirates would have raped and defiled and murdered these children and thrown them overboard in 2 seconds flat. And there were a lot of kids, boys and girls. There was just a ton of little kids of all ages. There was a Mexican girl who was around 18, 19 tops, all the way down to a boy or a girl, maybe 3. I don't think there were any infants, because I don't remember seeing any. And if there were any infants, they stayed with the mom and the dad back at the port. The pirates wanted the 900 pounds that the captain had been paid by the parents to take these kids to England. And it took lighting the captain's feet on fire to get that money. And the pirates got the money. And I don't know what became of the captain, really, except the last time you see him, he's alive, and the ship's pretty much trashed. They probably got aboard their lifeboats and paddled out to sea and hopefully got rescued, but other than that, don't know much. there's scenes where the pirates get drunk, and they're always, especially a couple of them, they're always going after that 18-year-old girl. I don't remember whether her name is Maria or Margareta. She's kind of like Hispanic, Jamaican or something like that, French maybe, somewhere in the Caribbean. I think she has a brother because he has a very unique, beautiful accent. I don't think she has a word of dialogue except in a foreign language that sounds some kind of Hispanic language, but the brother seems to speak English. But they're always going after her. They're always grabbing her and carrying her suggestively over their backs like they are raping her. She's always wearing this pristine, clean white dress that never gets soiled. All these kids seem to be in their same outfits day after day, months at sea with these dirty pirates. And when do they bathe? And how do they bathe without these pirates defiling them or molesting them? This kind of insults my, it insults my intelligence. It insults my sense of reality. And during one attempt, when the pirates start to try to come at that older girl, Deborah Baxter, the one that plays Emily, who is a very good young actress, sometimes she seems wooden, but I think it's her sense of, I can't believe this is happening to us. I can't believe we're supposed to go home, and instead we're on this ship full of people we don't know. And she develops a sense of Stockholm syndrome, I believe. I'll go into it. She bites the captain's thumb because he tries to grab her face because she and a group of kids are trying to defend the older girl from another, advance from these drunken people, these drunken hoodlums trying to get to her. And then she apologizes later. "Oh, I'm sorry I bit your thumb, Captain." And then from that moment on, it's like he acts like this big, unrealistic teddy bear. This is Anthony Quinn, who's an actor, we all love. I love him too. He's been in some awesome stuff, and he's beloved. I love the guy, but this is a movie that just, I'm sorry, Mom, but it insults my intelligence. She's just an escapist. She likes to pretend that this pirate turned into a teddy bear. See, it's Captain Chavez, and it's like, it's nothing against Hispanics. This is about pirates, not about Hispanics. Pirates are pirates. I don't care if it's Captain Hook or Captain Chavez here or the guy from Captain Phillips, Captain Phillips I think was Tom Hanks, and the pirate was a Somalian dude. I don't care who you are, what race you are. If you're a pirate, you're usually a criminal. And you don't do nice things. You don't turn into a teddy bear for a little cute little girl. So I think the cute little girl turned into a Stockholm Syndrome victim because she has this, while she's performing very impressively, she's also got this Stockholm Syndrome kind of a blank prisoner stare on her face. I'm sorry, but these children would have been raped, murdered, and thrown overboard. Used and thrown away like garbage, because pirates just, there's no honor among that kind of a system of people. They're not friends with each other. Why should they befriend children? And really, I'm not trying to totally act like all of them were being idiots. James Coburn is pretty much, he doesn't give a shit about any of these kids. He's realistic. His character is a pirate, a real true-to-life pirate. And the rest of the crew are they can't stand the kids. But I'm surprised they didn't just murder them and just totally, I mean, towards the end of the movie, they basically mutinize against the Captain Chavez. They're very superstitious, and one of the kids is playing around with the, you know how some ships have mermaids or women statue thingies on the fronts of the bows of the ship or whatever, the front part, I don't know, I'm not nautical, but they twisted the head off of one of the ladies on the bow of the ship, the statue, and when it rolled into the ocean, they went crazy. I mean, they thought, oh my God, these children are bad luck. I mean, they are the sign of the devil. They are just going to curse us all. And I think they wanted those kids dumped at the nearest deserted island, let them starve to death, who gives a shit. And the captain was like, no, 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 you're not going to hurt those children. And I'm like, okay. It does drag a little tiny bit, but it's not too bad. There's a few scenes of cutesiness, you know, with the little girl and Captain Chavez. But again, like I said, she has Stockholm Syndrome. He's an unrealistic teddy bear. They stop in Tampico, Mexico. And that's where it improves. The movie begins to improve when they stop off in Mexico and they meet with this lady. Her name is Rosa, and she's played by, it seems like a Russian actress, Lila Kedrova. And I don't know exactly her importance, but she runs, I don't know if she's a madam. I don't know if they were planning to trade the little girls and boys in for money or just to leave them there with her for her to care for. Or if they were just stopping there to visit her or to trade goods with her or what. I mean, she knew them very well. She greeted them with a hug. She seemed to take an interest in Emily, and one of her ladies that works for her, took her directly to Rosa. The little girl wanted to send a letter, but I don't know if she was able to post that letter at all. I can't remember exactly. But I do remember a very tragic scene that happened in Tampico. Emily's brother John was leaning out the window watching a cockfight. Well, you know, cockfights, rooster fights still happen today. And it's one of those things that I detest about certain cultures where they just love to, and they just say it's part of their culture. You're not going to stop them. It's a proud part of their culture. They've been doing it for eons. Why should they stop? Because of PETA and the animal lovers. Well, back in 1870, this movie, you know, this story had the little girl Emily, her brother John, who's a couple years older than her. He's going through puberty, so his voice is deep. He's leaning out the window and he's watching this cockfight with too much fascination. So much so that he leans out the window too far and he falls to his death. And that's kind of where the movie takes the very tragic turn. And it becomes more realistic than it ever was. This is when the movie starts to earn the points that I will give it. And they flee Tampico. They go back out to sea with all the kids, of course, instead of leaving them behind in Mexico. I guess they felt leaving them behind in Tampico would make the situation worse. I don't know what they did with the body of John. I don't know. I guess they must have disposed of him, buried him, whatever. But Emily is like, where's my brother? Is he coming back with us? And they tell her no. They don't really tell her why. They don't tell her what. They don't tell her any of the details, of course. And they're really, you know, those pirates start to really get more mutinous. I don't know if that's a word, but they're in mutiny against Captain Chavez. They want those kids off their ship. They don't want anything more to do with them. They think they're just bad luck. They think the death of John is even more of a bad omen or something like that. And they, if I'm saying anything inaccurate about the plot, about anything to do with John being part of the, you know, superstitious stuff, you can let me know in the comments and stuff. But because I admit there's parts that I've forgotten because it's been about 4 days since I've watched the movie. Something happens where the kids are thrown, practically not thrown, but they're forced, get down below deck, get down. And as the little girl Emily is getting down, some big bolt or piece of metal pipe is accidentally thrown down the stairs or falls down the stairs, and it hurts. It like breaks her leg, or it really hurts her leg terribly. And she's downstairs screaming. And of course, her pal, Captain Chavez, takes her to his own cabin, gives her, I don't know if it's laudanum or whatever, but it's, you know, real powerful painkiller to help her sleep and rest and be comfortable. And he's just her pal, you know. And that's when the men get even worse. They're just so they want him out of commission. They're ready to have his head roll and just throw him and all the kids overboard and just sail on without him, and they just hate his guts at this point. So finally this Dutch ship comes, and again I'm gonna put at the beginning of this video, there's spoilers galore. I'm going on 23 minutes pretty soon. The Dutch ship comes looking for the kids, or maybe not, maybe just approaching them. But by now there's probably been wires sent or messages sent. I don't know how they did it back in 1870. I don't know if the telegraph had been invented yet or not, or whatever. However the nautical world communicated with each other. But the Dutch ship pretty much overtakes the pirates and boards them. The Dutch captain, I don't know if I wrote down his no, I didn't write down the actor's name. I'll get it off the IMDb and I'll put it here. But and I'm going to combine this with a few still caps, and who knows, they might take me off the air for that. But anyway, he boards and he goes into the captain's cabin looking around to see if there's trouble, because he's already seen a bunch of kids that have been held captive for weeks, months, or whatever it's been. And he sees the little girl, and she's half crazed with whatever the medicine she's been taking for her pain, for the injury in her leg. And she's terrified. She sees this stranger coming at her, and she doesn't recognize him. And after all these pirates, these weird-ass pirates that have been drunken and weird, and the only one she trusts is Captain Chavez, really. She's like, who's this? Who's this? He's dressed in this uniform, and I don't recognize him. And she just happens to have a knife there beside her in bed somewhere. And I guess some of the pirates had tied him up. They hadn't all been overtaken. You know, it had been a 50-50 situation with some of the pirates had been captured, and some of the pirates had actually killed some of the Dutch. But the Dutch captain had some rope around him, and so he was sort of helpless, but he was kind of trying to say, hey, little girl, I'm here to help you. I'm here to help you. Can you untie me? Can you untie me? And I don't know. Now that I think about it, maybe it was his knife, and he was trying to give it to the little girl to help me get these ropes off. Well, instead, little Emily stabs him to death because she's out of her mind with pain medicine. She's drugged up. And that's terrible. He dies. Captain Chavez is like, oh my God, what a nightmare, you know. So, pretty soon, the pirates are overtaken. And Captain Chavez and Zach, who is played by James Colburn, the pirate who didn't even like the kids in the first place, and all the other scumbag pirates, they're all killed and or arrested and taken to hang, I believe, in England. And I guess in the meantime, the parents had left Jamaica on another ship and made it to England ahead of the kids, and the kids had been missing for all these weeks. And when the parents are finally reunited with their children, they ask little Emily and whoever they can ask all about how John died and what happened with, you know, what's all this about this captain who was stabbed to death. We need your witness accounts. And she's so terrified about her ordeal, and she's got the Stockholm syndrome, and she feels so bad for Captain Chavez because he didn't stab that guy to death, she did. And what's going to happen to her little child if she were to confess to such a gruesome murder, which really she's not really guilty of because she was doped up? It's a very sad situation. And this is where I say, yeah, Mom, I agree. This movie has some good qualities. It's pretty darn good, impressive. There's some really, you know, like, oh, brother moments in it. But at the end, towards the, you know, middle to the, you know, sort of the late middle to the end, it starts to get really amazing and really realistic and really hard choice kind of movie, you know, like really hard choice. So, yeah, there's a trial scene, and it's just really sad. And I think that Captain Chavez understood the outcome because she's a little girl, and I think he loved her in that weird teddy bear way, you know. It's not realistic, but at the end, I think he understood what happened and why it happened and the circumstances, the medication, the drug, the terror she must have felt and hallucinating, and I think he just wanted to take the fall for her. That's my opinion anyway. So, it's too bad that there was so much weird ass, like, this character of Margaret or Martha or Margarita or whatever, the girl in the white dress, the beautiful Hispanic young woman. I don't understand what happened to her. I mean, she went from this frightened, you know, would-be rape victim constantly, you know, looking in the back of her head for rapists to, you know, almost being like, oh, I'm so grown up. I love hanging out with these bad boys, you know. It was like, you know, what would I give it? It's a good family flick because of the lack of rape, I guess. I mean, certainly you could put your kids in front of it. I mean, it is escapist entertainment. So, you know, and it's definitely rated G. There's no harsh language. I can't even remember a hell or a damn, although I could have missed them. There's no nudity, of course. I think this was 1965. I'll make sure. As far as the period it was set in, it was definitely 1870. So it's an 1800s, late 1800s period. And it's definitely a good swashbuckling adventure, you know. So I don't know. I'll be nice and give it a 6 to 7 out of 10. I love Anthony Quinn. I love James Colburn. And I think that was Nigel Davenport, the bunny rabbit from Watership Down, I think. But the star is definitely Deborah Baxter, a young British child actress. Alrighty, folks, until the next review, which should be pretty soon. Talk to you later.